Hi, everyone. Welcome to our very last session of Netflix and Chill. I hope that you found the information that we gave you this week very informative. I've seen that students have been clicking into our pre-recorded sessions. Students have been gaining information from our live sessions. And I hope that you are getting all the information that you need to consider Coppin as your higher education institution of choice. Today, we have some guests from different departments on campus that will share more information. You've learned about the clubs and orgs, the student experience, you've learned about academics, and now we're going to talk about some other things, resources that you may have on campus. So today we have with us Mr. Marcus Bird, who is the Director of Financial Aid. We have Ms. Jacqueline Wanzi and Mr. Kendrell Edwards, who respectively are the Director and Assistant Director of Housing. We have Ms. Vera Carrington, who is the Compliance Director for Athletics. And we have Ms. Sandra Green, who is the Director of First Year Experience at the great Coppin State University. So today we're going to start our presentation. Kendra, don't make that face. So today we're going to start with financial aid and Mr. Bird.
I'm ready.
Hi, Mr. Bird. How are you today?
I'm doing well.
And students, if you have any questions throughout the presentation, you can feel free to put them in the chat box. So we're going to start with you and financial aid because students have heard about the academic experience. They've heard about the student experience. They've seen some of our pre-recorded videos, housing and whatnot. And so now they want to know how do they pay for school? And I know that there are a lot of misconceptions out here about financial aid. Students, everything from, I thought everyone gets a refund check. I thought students, all students were free. They think that their parents' income is not enough. Their parents might make six figures and they don't understand why they don't get the same award amount as other students. So we're going to kind of go over some of those things to kind of debunk some of the myths. But first, how do students get started with the financial aid process?
Well, everything starts with filling out the FAFSA. Even if you're getting scholarships, you still want to complete the FAFSA information. And one example is, even though you're getting scholarships, you still may qualify for other scholarships that's based on need information, and you may qualify for some additional grants period that you didn't think otherwise you would qualify for. I've seen people fill it out and they may not get the full payout, but they end up getting $1,000 that they didn't know that they were going to qualify for. The calculation for the FAFSA actually is not just on income. It depends on how many people are in the household. It depends on what location of the country you're from. And there's some other variables. So you always want to fill out the FAFSA no matter what. If you're even thinking about school, even undergrad or grad, you want to go ahead and fill out the FAFSA as soon as you can. And you can fill out the FAFSA beginning October 1 for the upcoming, I guess it would say following year. So for fall 21, the FAFSA became available October 1 of this year. If you're planning to attend for the spring, then we would need your 2020-21 FAFSA. Now that's going to use your tax, the 2021 FAFSA uses your tax information and your parents' tax information from 2018. If for the 22 FAFSA, 21-22 FAFSA, it's going to use tax information from 2019, which would have been the one that was filled out this year.
Awesome. Where can they go to start that process?
Say that again.
You were about to say something else? It's a delay. I'm sorry.
I was just going to say you need to do it as early as possible. And make sure that you list Coppin. You can select up to 10 schools, but no matter what, you need to list Coppin, and our school code is 002068. There's a search engine on there, and we have the number on our website as well, but list Coppin is to list Coppin, you would put in 002068 is our school code.
And what's the website to start the FAFSA?
It is F as in Frank, A as in Apple, F as in Frank, S as in Sam, A is in Apple, fafsa.ed.gov.
Awesome. And so you mentioned some of the types of aid that students can get. Can you actually just tell us, because students think that loans are not included in the financial aid package, can you describe all of the different types of financial aid students can receive?
So yeah, financial aid is not just a grant. It's just not a Pell Grant. Anything that you receive, even scholarships, is considered financial aid. We have to account for everything because it determines your package. Now, we try to award the best available package the moment we receive your FAFSA, meaning we're going to give you what's most favorable to you first, which would, if you qualify for grants, we're going to give you the grants first. Then we would list scholarships. Then we would award your federal work study. Then we would award any loans that you may be eligible for. And if your parents apply for a Parent Plus loan, then we will process the Parent Plus loan. And it kind of goes in that order. So I said it in the order that of priority of how we award you.
And so is there, I know you mentioned that there was an equation or, well, things that variables that are taken into account, but some students seem to think that they will get a different package at different schools, but the federal financial aid package pretty much stays the same. It's the scholarships that may change, correct?
Correct. So when you fill out the FAFSA, the Department of Education is going to come up with a number called the estimated family contribution. We typically say it for short EFC. But your EFC is the same EFC no matter what institution you attend. Now, everybody, when we receive your EFC, we're going to package you with what's available. So everybody, if you're Pell eligible, you're going to get the same Pell no matter what institution you go to. Now, there are additional grants that are limited. So you may, FSCOG, a Supplemental Educational Opportunity Grant, Federal Supplemental Educational Opportunity Grant, or SEOG, those are limited funds. So you may get SEOG at one institution and not get it at the other because they may have ran out, they may not have any more available, or they may not have any at all to begin with. Now, that's why it's very important on how much it costs for you to attend the school. Like how much are the tuition and fees? Because if your tuition and fees is $20,000 and you're only getting $2,000 in Pell, well, you still get $15,000 for the remaining amount. Whereas if you go to an institution where the tuition is $5,000, the $2,000 is going much further in clearing your bill versus a more expensive institution. That's why I always say copping is a good value, because your money can go further to provide, the same education or sometimes better education that you may receive at other institutions.
Absolutely. So consider that we actually are the most affordable institution in the state of Maryland in terms of four-year institutions. So definitely make us a choice, because students are, especially in your generation, you guys are really on it when it comes to not taking out too many loans and not wanting to be in debt. We want you to graduate and be able to buy a house and be able to get a car and not be in debt. So make sure that you're considering that. Okay, so now you said that if students are coming in for fall 2021, that they will be using their parents and their own 2019 taxes, but we know that we're in pandemic now and things might have changed. What does that look like for students whose parents may have been laid off, or the student may have been laid off in 2020 due to the pandemic, but they have to use the 2019 taxes?
Right, so you would still use the 2019 tax information and fill it out exactly how it is. However, once we have processed your award, actually, as soon as you have submitted it, you can submit what's called a special circumstance form, which is available on our website. On that form, it takes into account where we can make an adjustment to the information that you submitted on the FAFSA, but we're going to ask for documentation. So say your parents were laid off, we would need their termination letter, maybe the last 2 paycheck stubs, and we can actually make a calculation on your FAFSA. We actually go into the Department of Ed system, we put in notes, and we put in dated figures. We may use current figures versus what the figures were in 2019. So we have a process, and it may not just be COVID related. You may have a death in the family, or you may have had there could be a number of reasons. If you encounter anything extenuating circumstance to you, what you should do is contact the financial aid office, see what other options are available for you. And you can also look at the form. We actually have some examples on the form.
Oh, awesome. And oh shoot, the question left my mind that quickly. So the CARES Act. I know I have a lot of students who ask this question because it was on the news so much that all of these institutions would be getting additional funding because of COVID to help students. How is it the same with the special circumstance form that they would have to apply for that, or is it even available now that we have elected a new president? Is that even going to change?
Well, the original funds are no longer available. We actually awarded all those funds in spring of 2020 when the pandemic hit. Now, Congress is in the works of trying to create an additional package to distribute to the country, not just to colleges and universities, but to the whole country. And it's actually, no one knows what the answer is going to be, if there are going to be funds available in the future. However, many of our students, and the CARES Act would be nice, but a lot of our students get additional resources from MD-CAPS, MHEC. You really need to log into MD-CAPS, register. They have your information. If you filled out a FAFSA and you live in Maryland, MD-CAPS has your information. So you need to log into MD-CAPS. You may can get money from other sources. So I wouldn't say anybody to rely on the CARES Act money because there are a lot of other ways. Never quit searching for money for college is what I say. Never quit searching. MD-CAPS is a great source. I know we probably do $6 million, I think is what comes from MD-CAPS for our students. So we have a large, there's a lot of resources out there. And we list them on our website too. So if you go to our website, kind of search through it, we're redesigning the website, so hopefully it'll get better. But there is a lot of information on our website.
And students, there are 3 websites that I always send students to, and that is the Thurgood Marshall College Fund, tmcf.org, United Negro College Fund, uncf.org, and then myscholarly.com, which is MYSCHOLLY.com. And they have a plethora of scholarships. I love My Scholarly because it actually will filter down based off of your GPA, your affiliations, your parents' affiliations, and how much you actually tell them that you need. And they will find scholarships specifically to meet those criteria. So definitely go to those websites. There's money out there. Check your parents' jobs, your banks. If you have a job, ask your employer. There's money out there, and you need it. All right, so there's another thing that comes up very often that students they're not aware that they actually have the information before we do, and that is the verification selection process. One is, how are students actually selected? How did the government choose me to be selected for verification, and what do I have to do in order to meet the verification requirements?
Okay, so the Department of Education selects 18%. This changed. It was 21% last year. This upcoming year is actually going to be 18%. They select 18% of all applications that they receive. Now, because we're I won't say we're a high pay institution, but we're higher than most schools. But since we're our higher pay schools, we may receive more than 18 or 20% of our students getting selected for a process called verification. Now, it is a random selection. So we don't pick you to get selected for verification. But once you are selected, we are required by the Department of Education to complete that verification process. Coppin has partnered with a company called Kia, KHEAA. And as soon as we have your information and start to process it, if you're selected for verification, we're sending your information to Kia, and Kia is going to reach out to you, and you can complete the verification process totally online. It is a very easy process to me because you can follow it. You can always know your status. And if you submit something within a day, sometimes 2 days, depending on how busy it is, if there's additional information needed, they will actually put it in your portal, and you can check it and get and complete it faster. You don't have to wait for a counselor to call you. You don't have to try to reach out to the counselor. You can always check your information on the Kia website. Now, we do send you that information that you've been selected. We do notify you, and we send you information about the company that we're using. But once you're selected for verification, you have to complete that process. And once it's completed, then we automatically get the information, and then we can package your financial aid. But pay attention to dates. I've had people that go into verification process and they respond immediately to the email, and within a week they get their award. Then I have other people that we can send the information, we can call them, we can text them, and right before the middle of the school, they'll start responding because they have a bill. And
don't be that person, guys. Don't.
Yeah, don't be that person. We will work with you, but you can make the process a whole lot easier for yourself and less stressful if you just go ahead and respond and get on top of it. Now, the responsibility, a lot of it is going to rely on you, the student. You know, we will assist you, but it's going to be up to you to get the information completed. But I do say, if you ever run into a bind, with Kia, you can reach out directly to me. My information is on our website, my direct information. I do ask that you reach out to your counselor first, and if you still don't get the service that you feel like you deserve, you can reach out to me.
And being told no does not mean that doesn't mean that you're not getting the service that you deserve, guys. No, sometimes is exactly what it means. It means no. So don't just take, well, she said no, so now I'm going to go to the director and ask the director because I didn't want her to say no or him to say no. So make sure that whatever they're telling you that you're completing and doing, because it's very important, especially for that verification process. And so Mr. Bird has said 2 valuable things tonight. You definitely, one, need to check your EFC or your estimated family contribution. And you need to also check to see if you have been selected for verification. And you can find both of these things on your student aid report. Did I get that correct?
Which is, yes, and see, when you fill out the FAFSA, your receipt is your student aid report, and you're going to get that from the Department of Education. You can actually pull your student aid report down from the FAFSA website. If you log back in, they'll have a link for your student aid report. But I don't know if they're mailing them anymore.
I don't think they do. I think it's in your email.
They send it in email.
Anyone getting in the mail in a very long time.
Okay, they used to send it in your mail. You get different colors per year and everything, but you can always access it online.
So this is my last question for you. If a student is admitted and they have chosen Coppin, they added Coppin to their FAFSA, they think that they really want to pursue and move forward with the process, when should they expect a financial aid award package? And I'm listening. No, I'm going.
Well, it's probably not going to be much earlier than last year. We would like to get it out. We're actually already started downloading FAFSA information.
For fall 2021 students?
Yes.
Awesome.
We're going to begin the verification process before the end of December, which last year we didn't start till middle of January, I believe. So before Christmas, we will start sending out notification for those that were selected verification. I'm going to say March 1, we'll start sending out award letters, but we'll try to beat that date. March 1 is a safe date for us, but last year I think we started awarding mid-February. Part of that depends on Congress. They set the new Pell amounts, and depending on the political climate, is how fast we get that Pell chart sometimes. So sometimes we're depending on that information before we can get the financial aid packages out.
And the financial aid is federal aid, so it
Yeah.
does hit on the federal government and what happens in government.
Can I say two things that we didn't cover? I was going to be real short.
Mhm.
One is start off well academically, because financial aid is not, you're not entitled to financial aid. You have to earn financial aid. You have to go to class. That's attendance is part of receiving financial aid. And the second part is satisfactory academic progress. You must make a 2.0 and complete 67% of the classes that you attend. It is very, very important, because I promise you, I won't even have to look at it. The computer will pop you out and say you're suspended of financial aid if you're not meeting the criteria. Now, we do have a process where you can get it back, but it's less stressful if you will just do well. Just take your time, because it's your money that you're spending to go to school. So come to school, do well, get finished as quickly as possible so that you can stop spending more money. All this is on paper. You don't pull no cash out your pocket, I promise you. Well, you may, but it's not the same as you going to buy something from Walmart. This is thousands of dollars that you're going to pass through you to help pay for school. And you want to limit how much, even if you're on scholarship, you want to limit how much that you spend to get finished. And the sooner you get out, the sooner you can start making money and putting money in your pocket.
Absolutely, that happened to me. So don't be the person. Don't be the person that runs out of financial aid. Make sure that don't withdraw from a whole lot of classes before you talk to your academic advisor. And we'll talk about that with Miss Green in a little bit. But make sure that you're actually on a plan to finish. You are in school to graduate, not to get refund checks, not to just make friends. We talked about this in the last session with the students. So you definitely want to make sure that you are maximizing. This is an investment. So imagine if this education was your brand new car. You're going to take care of your car. You're going to get it washed and vacuumed. You're not going to have a whole bunch of junk in it. Everybody can't ride in it. That's the same thing. You want to take the time to invest, make that same kind of investment in your future. You want to pass your classes, go to class, and all of that. So thank you. Thank you, Mr. Bird, for that information. And if any students have any questions, they can reach you.
My email is mbyrd, MBYRD, @coppin.edu, or you can email the financial aid at coppin.edu, and we'll divert it to the person for that area that you asked about.
Thank you so much. All right, now we're going to move on to housing. One of our top videos in our pre-recorded virtual open house. We have a ton of people who have clicked on and watched the video for housing already. I think that we have one of the nicest buildings in the area. Like I would put money on that. So we're going to talk about housing a little bit, housing accommodations, COVID. So I'm going to let you guys introduce yourselves again.
Hello, and welcome those who are here and those that watch later. My name is Jacqueline Wandy. I'm the Director of Housing.
Everyone. Hi, everyone. I'm Mr. Edwards. I am the Assistant Director of Housing.
Okay, so if you guys have not seen the beautiful video of our beautiful dormitory suites, then I would definitely suggest that you go back to the launch pad of the virtual open house and click the video. It's called Living the Dream. Life on Living on Coppin's campus, something like that. I know it's called Living the Dream. Click on that button and you will be able to see what the dorms look like. But I know that a lot of students are starting to question whether they should live on campus, and if they do choose to live on campus, what that looks like. Throughout this pandemic, we do have students that live on campus. We did have a hybrid semester. But what has been the plan for students who decided to stay on campus this semester? What was the COVID plan? And how was that executed?
So the pandemic has impacted our residential experience a little bit, but we're still doing everything we can to make sure that students are safe and healthy on campus. It's a group effort. It takes not only the staff that are in the building and making sure that the building is maintained, but also our students who live with us. And so one of the changes that did happen as part of the pandemic is that we reduced our occupancy on campus. So all of our students currently are living in single rooms. And so that just reduces the amount of folks that are in close quarters together. We always want to make sure that we are keeping our 6 feet of distance away from others and wearing our masks. And so that was one of the ways that we helped to ensure that students were able to live on campus, but not living in such close quarters that it would increase their risk of infection. We've also altered the way that we do programming. We're still programming. You still have resident assistants. You still have folks that are there for you to support your needs that live in hall. However, the number of folks that can attend those programs is reduced. And we've also just upped the cleaning within the building to make sure that any high touch surfaces are cleaned frequently throughout the day. So that would be, your doorknobs, door handles, the laundry room, places that students frequent, including our computer lab that's in the building. And then we have tons of hand sanitizer and things available. And we're always encouraging our students to practice safe social distancing, wearing their masks, and just make sure that they're monitoring themselves on a daily basis for any COVID-19 symptoms that they may experience.
Did you have anything that you wanted to add, Mr. Edwards?
Also, our students go through monthly testing with the university as well. So anyone who decides to live on campus with us goes through that monthly testing, and it is free. So that's the great thing about it, is that you don't have to go through your private insurance unless you choose to do so, but it is free for students to be tested for COVID-19.
Awesome. Now, if a student did contract COVID while they were living on campus, what was the plan for them? Were they were they kicked off of campus, or how do we handle that situation?
Sure. So the campus is partnered with the city of Baltimore, the public health department, to provide services for students off campus who contract COVID-19 if they are found positive. So there's an off-campus space at the Lord Baltimore Hotel where those students will stay. They have medical staff on hand. Students are given meals daily and making sure that they have all the amenities and things that they need while they recover from COVID-19. So we encourage our students, like I said, to practice safe practices. However, we are in a pandemic, and so there are a few students that have contracted it, but we do everything that we can to care for them at that off-campus facility. And then for any students that may have been exposed or in close contact, they are self-quarantined. And so they have meals delivered to them while they're in their rooms. They have trash pickup at their rooms. And then they are in close contact with our residence life staff just to monitor their health and progress while they're in their quarantine period.
Awesome. So I did, and a lot of people, and please forgive me if I'm off script, but a lot of people do come to campus and they realize that we are in West Baltimore, and parents want to know the safety about the students who live on campus. And I know in the video we mentioned that students get an Eagle card, but can you just kind of go over the safety protocols that we have in place for students that do want to live on campus? Because we are one of the safest campuses.
Sure, we are a very safe campus, and I preach that a lot to folks, and particularly parents when they come to campus and students as well, that if you're on campus, we're going to make sure that you're safe. Our campus police, they are present and prevalent. We have security that walk the campus as well. And in terms of our residence halls, we have a 24-hour front desk that's staffed by, we have professional staff and student staff members that sit the desk. Only those that are residents of buildings have access to those buildings through their ID card, their Eagle card. And so you would swipe your card at the door to gain access. And then there's kind of this extra step of verification when you stop at the front desk. You actually have to tap in, and then we know that you are a resident of that building. And so that's how we monitor the safety and access to our spaces. So if you're on campus, if you go off campus, we can't account for that. But if you're on our campus, we have a lot of measures in place to make sure that you're safe and secure.
And you did mention going off campus. So for the students, and I hate to keep talking about COVID, but this is our new reality. But for the students who live on campus, were they allowed to go off campus this semester, or did they have to stay on campus because of COVID? Were they able to freely go and come as they please?
So students they do have that ability, but we do focus on encouraging, like I said, safe behavior, safe practices. So we do let our students know that if you are going off campus, if you're traveling further than a 75-mile radius from campus, if you are going out of state, if you know you're attending large gatherings, to self-monitor and self-quarantine when necessary if you feel that you've been exposed or you're at risk. And so we have students that have attended family gatherings, and they know they'll inform their resident assistant. They'll say, hey, I was off campus. I know I've been around people. I know I need to be self-quarantined, which is great because they're taking that personal responsibility. And then each student that is on campus is required to complete the daily COVID assessment. Faculty and staff do that as well. And so that daily assessment asks you if you have been exposed to anyone that has tested positive, and if you're experiencing certain symptoms, to help you assess whether or not you also need to be on quarantine. And so those systems kind of alert us and keep us aware. And then the residence life staff are aware, and they keep in contact with students to kind of ask them those questions as well. So we're here to support, and we encourage those safe practices, and that's how we kind of make sure that folks are being healthy and safe. But we don't keep you locked down. You have you have the ability, you have to go to class for the classes are in person, and you have to eat, so you have to go to dining hall. So we don't, and we have plenty of students that work as well to help pay for their education. So we understand the importance of having that ability to go back and forth. But if you are kind of outside of the parameters that we have in terms of our campus procedures, we do ask that folks self-quarantine and self-monitor on a daily basis.
Awesome. So Mr. Bird mentioned earlier about deadlines. And this summer, Mr. Edwards and I had to do a live on Instagram to get students motivated to submit documents. And I think that sometimes students just think, oh, I'll get it done whenever. And the earlier, the better. So can we talk about the housing application process? Because it opens early, but students always seem to try to do this part late and then get upset when they're on a waiting list. So when do the applications open?
So the great thing is this year is that we're moving to an online format with our application. And it's so exciting. So the application is actually on, yes, it is coming online starting Monday, February 1st. Okay. So again, if you remember no other date outside of the dates Mr. Bird gave you regarding your money, make sure you remember February 1st is the deadline for online applications.
Deadline or open?
It's open. It's open. My apologies. Remember the deadline Mr. Bird gave you, but for our application, it's definitely February 1st is the start. So it's from February 1st to June 1st. So June 1st is when we actually close the application and actually begin the waitlist period. So again, February 1st is when the applications actually open. Now, in order to get an application, if you watch the video, you have to be admitted into the university. So remember, your first step is to be admitted as a Coppin State University student, and then you'll have access to receive the actual housing application.
Absolutely. And what documents are required to have a complete application? Because that's the other thing. We had students that said, I turned in the application, but nothing else. So what is required? What documents or proof is required to submit an application?
Absolutely. So, of course, the application itself, which includes the contract, so making sure that the housing contract is signed, and then we actually need your vaccination records. So that includes your hepatitis B vaccine as well as your meningitis shot. Now, your meningitis shot can be waived, and there is documentation on the actual application itself indicating if you would like to waive it. However, we do require hepatitis B. Just to let you guys know, there has been no conversation right now regarding the COVID-19 vaccination. However, as information comes out, we'll be sure to communicate that with you, especially if you apply for Coppin housing. But for right now, just your hepatitis B, which is required, which, believe it or not, you actually probably had already received unless you were waiving due to religious reasons, but you actually probably already have received it. And then, of course, your meningitis shot, but you can waive that if you choose to do so. Oh,
And
and then your $150 housing fee as well.
yeah, so you cannot miss any of those parts to the application packet if you would like to live on campus. If any one of those things are missing, then you will not have a complete application and you may risk being on a waiting list. So make sure you follow instructions, because we had to go over this so many times. The instructions were right on the front page of the application and students still overlook this. So make sure that you're following directions, reading through everything, signing where you're supposed to sign, so that you won't risk submitting incomplete documents. And that's for across the board for all of our offices. Make sure that you're reading and signing where you're supposed to sign. Okay, so here's another popular question. My friend and I want to share the same room, and we know that COVID has prevented that. But what if I decided that I wanted to go and my best friend wants to go to Coppin as well? Can we live in the same suite?
Absolutely. So on the actual application page itself, it indicates who wants to be your roommate. But the key is that a lot of students don't remember or realize is that your friend has to be accepted as well into the university. So if you want your best friend to live with you, hit them up and be like, hey, did you apply to Coppin yet? Did you get your admittance letter? Like, what's going on? Stay on top of your friends too, especially if you want them to live with you. So you absolutely can decide who you would like to live with. They just have to be admitted into the university as well.
And what if I don't know anyone that's coming? Can I still have preferences to which kind of room? I mean, well, suite mates. I keep saying roommates. I'm so used to saying roommates, but it's suite mates that I have.
Yes, so on our actual application form, we do design what is known as a roommate preference form. So you can actually say, yes, I'm the type that like to sleep at night, or no, I'm an early riser. And the system will actually go through and generate your perfect match. And so you actually can choose, or the system will choose for you based on your responses to that questionnaire as to who you'll be living with. So that way it can be a cohesive environment for everybody.
Absolutely. And so another question I get, I know that students think that they are grown-ups when they come to college, and we always push that they are grown-ups, but there are some behaviors that grown-ups have to understand as well, and that's behavioral issues. So if a student gets into, and I know this is not completely housing, but I know you can kind of speak to this a little bit. If a student gets into an altercation, if they are found to be in violation of any of the codes of conduct, that means smoking, drinking on campus, or anything of the like, what happens to a student? Because it's time that students really recognize that this is about them taking responsibility. This is not high school. So what happens in those cases?
So there is a formalized process where either your resident director will be involved, will have a communication with you, or depending on the severity of the offense, you may meet with our director of residence life, Mr. Pertee, and then you will have to go through what is known as adjudication process with Mr. Jefferson, who oversees all adjudications or all cases that happen on Coppin's campus. And I don't want to go into too much detail because I want to make sure I'm giving factual information, but there is a process that our students go through, unfortunately, if they violate campus policy and residence hall procedures.
And they can be put off campus in some instances.
In some instances, yes, it can happen, unfortunately.
Yes. So make sure that you are upholding the student code of conduct that is available online for you. No matter what school you go to, this can happen. And I try to drive this as a very important factor in your student journey and student experience, because a lot of students don't realize this is not high school. And you're, like we said earlier, this is an investment, and you don't want to mess that investment up. So take those things seriously. Thank you, Mr. Edwards and Ms. Mwanzi. Do you have any last remarks that you'd like to make about housing?
No, if you have any questions or you would like to follow us on any of our social media, feel free to do so. Hopefully you guys can see it. But this is all of our social media. We're on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter as well. So make sure you guys follow us at Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. And then if you have any direct questions, feel free to give us a call at 410-951-6300, or you can email us at housing@coppin.edu. I'll leave the screen up for you guys throughout the duration of the presentation today, just in case you need it. And again, remember, applications go live on February 1st, and the deadline is June 1st, okay?
Well, actually, I need you to take that down for 1 second. I mean, well, not a second. You
Absolutely.
go there for a second, because I know Miss Miss Carrington is going to have to put up her slide too.
Okay.
But I'm going to give you guys, I'm going to wait 5 seconds.
Just let me know when you're ready.
Take a picture of the screen, pause it, do whatever you need to do, and make sure that you get this contact information. All right, thank you, Mr. Edwards. So now we're going to go to first year experience. Hi, Ms. Green. Welcome back. This is not your first rodeo at the virtual open house experience.
No, it is not.
First time. All right, so we're going to talk about first year experience and why this program is so important to incoming students. So first, can you introduce yourself and tell us exactly what you do?
I am Miss Sandy Green. I am the director of the First Year Experience program at Coppin State University. The First Year Experience program is a unique program, as in its intention is to follow our incoming freshmen through their first year. It's important because this is the time where they are transitioning from being high school students, maybe being told when to get up and how to move about their day, and to an atmosphere where they're not necessarily given or mandated, let's say, that you have to do this and you have to do that in order to go about your day. First year experience goal is to acclimate that incoming freshman into college life. And it is the most important part is that every incoming freshman gets registered for their first semester through first year experience. And we make a big deal about that. We do a whole cheering if they registered through us. They got the cheering and they got the, hey, welcome to Coppin, you know. And then the next step is that we want them to follow us on social media, which is our Instagram page is Coppin First Year Experience. And I wanted to say this for the students that haven't made that decision to attend Coppin yet. Follow us anyway, because you're going to see First Year Experience do our weekly check-ins. You're going to see us talk about important things. And that is just because the world has changed and we have to now change with the world. So we definitely want to keep you engaged and to keep you excited about attending and considering Coppin State University. So in this first year, this freshman comes on campus and not knowing how to navigate, and they stop in first year experience or they contact us now on the phone. It is not only us connecting with the student, but we also connect with the parents as well. And we want it to be a team achievement when that student registers for classes. So oftentimes we have the parents there too. And once I say, guess what? You're now registered. You can hear the parents cheering in the background and you can hear the excitement in their voices and the excitement in the students' voices. And it is at that point that we continue to engage with that student. So it is not there that we let them go. So the purpose going throughout this year is, let's engage you now. We got you. So what are we going to do with you now that we have you? And that's important as well, because if we don't prove that we can move you through the process, then there would be no purpose for us. So during this year, we are holding workshops. We're doing check-ins. We are before the world closed down, we had events on campus and students would come and we were playing music, and you could always come to our department and music was playing, and we were giving out food and candy and stopping by the office. But say it again.
Ice cream.
Ice cream and cake, always cupcakes, something. We're giving away something because we want you to be engaged and we want you to be involved. All of our events in first year experience are geared to change behavior or to let students know something. So for instance, and it's always geared around a holiday. So maybe around Valentine's Day, we bought this gigantic teddy bear and we said, win this teddy bear, no purchase necessary. However, what you had to do was show us that you could sign into your Eagle Links email. That's the only thing you had to do to have your name entered into this drawing. And what our hopes is that it would cause students to do that often. Let me check my email because it's important, because I can miss things. A lot about, so now we have the students and they come in and we have this first year students, 350, 400 students. What are we going to do? The student that comes, and I really want to talk about this because I talked about it yesterday, is that student that comes to college. So we have two sets of students. We have a student that comes, I know what I want to do. I want to major in this major. I want to be a nurse. I want to be this. I want to be a scientist. And they're good. Then we have that awesome group that is undecided. I have no clue. Well, that's why that student is very important to us, because it's during that time that we have now to engage that student and to show the student and educate the student on what Coppin State University has to offer. And we do that through major exploration. We have conversations, sit down, as maybe you might have heard your parents or grandparents say when we have those coffee conversations where you're sitting at the table and we just talking. It's never formal. Those conversations could pop up anywhere. And once again, before COVID, they would pop up in the supermarket. If I'm in the supermarket, am I right, Janelle? And we got yes. And I get a student follow me through Walmart and we having that conversation, but I don't mind, because that is one more that felt comfortable enough, let's just say that, to stop and have a conversation. And they're probably with their parents. And that's why, those students are so important to us. And that's why we get so connected. I believe that say it again.
Very relational and very family oriented.
Absolutely. I believe that the first year experience, let me just say this, Coppin State University as a whole is a very different atmosphere from any other university. And it's in these conversations that we have, and it is the people that work and are dedicated to the incoming freshmen that are considering Coppin. And it is our hopes that those that are considering that actually make the choice, because we have the tools that will assist and follow you through. It is our goal, by the time a student finishes that first year and they are undecided, they absolutely know. They only going to know that if we have done our job. If we have done our job, that student is aware of what they don't want to do, and as well as aware of what they're more inclined to lead toward. And I just want to say this, there are occasions, and let's just be, very truthful. There are occasions where a student has gone through that first year and still have no clue. I just don't know. It's so much to do. And especially with the world changing, sometimes our goals have to now change because the world is not functioning like it was a year ago. So sometimes that thing that I thought I wanted to do may not be the thing I want to do right now. So it is those situations that maybe you've gone past the first year. There is no such thing as you're being dropped. There's nobody to contact, because once you are in first year experience, you absolutely have a free access to us. And I say that because oftentimes we have seniors that are ready to graduate that have been advised by their major that will call and say, Miss Green, I'm getting ready to graduate. Could you go over this and make sure it's right? And I don't think that's done because they don't trust the faculty. I think it's done because there is a connection that they achieved or they received when they first started Coppin. Mm-hmm. And it goes through them throughout the 4, 5, or 6 years, however long it takes. Once you have connected with the first year experience office, you're constantly, calling, especially when you can't get an answer from another department. Miss Green, can you check this? Can you check that? And we do our best because unfortunately, students may not always be able to get people because we are busy. That sometimes the staff can kind of backtrack and go behind the walls and connect with other staff that can get answers for students. So I think that the first year experience program is equipped to give the students, every new student, that those tools that they need. It is the place where you get registered for classes. It is the place you could come or call and just talk about something. and trust that we'll be able to give you the tools that you need to get your answers and or resolve whatever issues you may have, if that up to and including us referring you to other departments if that's the need.
I really appreciate the program because I think that sometimes students go to college and they think that they know everything, but it's always good to know that you have that support system to back you up and to support you so that you're not just withdrawing from classes that you don't need to, that you give advice like maybe you should go and contact your teacher to see what you can do, or maybe you need to go to the academic resource center to bring up your grade in math or to bring up your grade in English. And that support system happens at the very beginning with the first year experience program. Thank you, Ms. Green. You give us.
Let me just say one more thing, that if a student has any pressing questions, you can make an appointment with me personally. I am putting up our bookings link, and you could click on that link and select me personally, Ms. Green, and select questions, and I will be willing to answer your questions. And although we may, the semester will be over, it does not matter. You can still send a question, book an appointment to see Miss Green. My staff may not, but Miss Green, you can see Miss Green. And I will definitely answer those questions that you may have.
Thank you so much, Miss Green.
Because me and Miss Harris, we work around the clock.
We do. All of us work around the clock.
That's right. I email her at 3 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, she don't get a response from me though.
Right. She doesn't respond.
Why are you up this late? This early? But you will get a response back as soon as I wake up.
That's right. You do. But I gotta do it when I'm thinking about it.
You're right. I need you to go to sleep though sometimes. We told the students to have time management. We have to have better time management too.
You're right.
All right. So last but certainly not least, we have Miss Vera Carrington. You waited so patiently, Miss Carrington. You were just sitting there like, yes, I'm here.
I don't know. She was eating something that looked good over there.
Oh, you wasn't sharing. So now we got jackets, food, and masks coming to us. You're on mute, Miss Carrington.
Sorry, I was eating a peanut bar.
So students typically ask me about sports all the time, and we do have a little brief video in our pre-recorded virtual season 1 of Netflix and Chill. And a lot of students think that they want to play sports. They may have played sometimes, none of the time, but they always want to have questions about sports and playing sports. And so we did tell them that we are Division I, we're in the MEAC conference, but sometimes students want to reach out directly to the coaches. They want to talk to the coaches. They want to be recruited. They want scholarship money and all of the above.
We want scholarship money too.
But sometimes contacting the coach is not the best person to contact. So they need to contact you, and you are
I am the academic and compliance director here at Coppin State.
And so her phone number is flashed across the screen on that pre-recorded video, by the way. You need to contact her. So what does that entail? And if you want to start your presentation now, you can. I don't have access because my remote in my non-remote.
So basically, I am the first person that our student athletes come in contact with for athletics, because I have to do their initial evaluation to see if they have all of the core courses they need to be eligible to play athletics. We have certain guidelines that we have to follow through the NCAA, and that first starts with you all registering for the NCAA Eligibility Center. That center will tell you everything you need as far as transcripts, the core courses you need, the GPA you need. Is different requirements for different levels. Like Ms. Harris said, we are Division I, so the level in our standards are higher than Division II, Division III, and junior college course requirements, as well as NAIA. So I can put up how do I share the screen?
There's at the top that says share content.
Okay. Can you all see it?
Yes.
Okay. So Coppin State University participates in Division I athletics and the MEAC conference. And the sports that we have here that are varsity sports are basketball, baseball, tennis, track and field, and cross country for men, basketball, softball, volleyball, tennis, bowling, cross country, track and field for women. We also have club sport here for football. In this PowerPoint, if it is linked to the to this page, if you click on this icon, it's going to give you information. It'll give you a link that goes right to the eligibility center. It gives you a document that tells you everything that you need in order to become eligible to play collegiate athletics. Some of the steps that you need to take: number one, you need to register with the NCAA Eligibility Center. Then you need to complete all the tasks that are given to you within the portal, which may include uploading your transcripts, your SAT scores, and all transcripts from all high schools. So if you went to 3 different high schools, you have to get an official transcript from each high school you attended. Then you will be assigned an NCAA ID number that you need to keep with you, and make sure that the email address that you log into, you maintain the password so that you can have access to any emails that they send. The academic requirements required for Division I or Division II are listed here.
Miss Carrington,
Mm-hmm.
you guys still see her PowerPoint? Or do you see Miss Carrington? Okay. All right.
They can see the PowerPoint?
Yes.
Okay. So you have 16 core courses that you need for Division I, and this is a breakdown of them. For Division I, you also need a core GPA of 2.3, and for Division II is a 2.2. And as you see, is different requirements for Division I versus II for the number of English, math, and science classes that you need. The additional courses can be made up of Spanish, other social science courses like economics, and things like that. Okay, how can I stop sharing the content? Okay, here we go.
Sorry. Yeah.
Is that it now? Okay.
Yes. So if a student wants to get a scholarship, are there just thousands and thousands of dollars out here available for students to get scholarships for athletics? And how good do you have to be to get a scholarship?
So each sport has a limit on the number of scholarships that they have and that they can give to each program. So for men's basketball, they are capped at 13 scholarships. And that means if they get a full scholarship, partial scholarship, whatever it is, they are limited to 13 athletes on scholarship. Women's basketball has 15. Women's volleyball has 13. So it's just different. For different sports, is different requirements and rules, but scholarship money is very scarce, and it is very competitive. As I just said, 13 scholarships for Division I basketball, you have to be at the top of the tier. So that doesn't mean that you play at your rec league, every once in a while, and now you think you can walk on and try out for the basketball team. We do have some athletes that are not on scholarship, but they were highly recruited by, other institutions, whether it was Division I or Division II, but they still chose to come here and play because of the experience. You all may have saw that we played Duke. We played very competitively, and listen, to lose to a team like Duke by 10 points, that's a win. But you might as well count that as a win for us.
I just haven't seen it in the
So we were very excited about that. And to just put in comparison, Duke only can have 13 scholarships as well. So out of all Division I schools, you figure there are more high schools than there are Division I schools. And look how many players are on each division, on each high school. Only 13 of those are going to go, on to get a Division I scholarship at, whatever university they go to. So it is highly competitive, and you have to be really, really good.
And so if students want to still play, and the coaches may be interested, but just doesn't have any scholarship funding for them, students should still consider applying for Fafsa, correct, Mr. Bird? They should still start looking for scholarships external to the university as well, in order to know that they will have some funding to support that while they play the sport.
And not only that, they can, the thing is, they want to make sure that they have their skills out on some kind of platform, whether they have a highlight tape that they have on YouTube, or they have a great Instagram following where they're putting their things up. If they send their videos here, then, I do forward it on to the coaches. And if they, like what they see, then they'll respond. But I would not just come in blindly like, oh, I'm going to try out for the team. And the coach has never, ever heard of you before. So I would suggest getting your best footage out there and posting it.
So I know that we work closely together as well with students, incoming athletes. And so students sometimes stop the process at the NCAA level. They submit and upload all of their documents there, and then they neglect to do it on the admissions side. Can you please stress how imperative it is for students to complete the admissions process in addition to the NCAA process?
It is. So your official transcripts have to go to the NCAA, but we cannot send those documents from the NCAA over to admissions. You can't say, well, I already uploaded my stuff to the Eligibility Center. Well, Eligibility Center is not Coppin State admissions. So they have to go to both places. So when you request with your high school for your transcripts to be sent to the NCAA Eligibility Center, they also need to be sent to the admissions office.
And you don't have to wait to find out what your decision is from the coach. If you follow the application portal, we have a new portal system. We discussed it in our pre-recorded session. So if you want to go back and watch the pre-recorded sessions of getting in, definitely follow those guidelines and procedures so that you can get all of your documents uploaded. We can review your application and you can see your decision in real time so that you don't have to continuously follow up with your coaches or follow up with compliance. You can see that in real time and you can see what you're missing so that you complete that step to get your admissions decision. And then again, you need to be admitted in order to get a room and housing if you're an athlete as well. So you definitely want to make sure that all of this is done early so that we know where you stand. We can move you through the journey successfully, seamlessly, and then everything is complete and ready to start. Because usually athletes start early.
Say it one more time.
Athletes start earlier than, not necessarily taking classes, but they come on campus earlier than other students.
They do. Depending on the sport, they would arrive to campus anywhere between 1 week to 2 weeks before classes start. So
yeah, so
you get your information in ASAP.
Earlier. And me and Miss Carrington do go back and forth with this all the time, because athletes sometimes will procrastinate. Well, students in general procrastinate, but because athletes are coming in earlier, sometimes you have to do things a lot earlier than the regular student would. So you do not want to drag your feet if you want to be a student athlete. We do want to hopefully see you on the court, on the field, So you definitely want to make sure to get your information in as soon as possible.
And support us. Go on to Coppin Sports page and look for streaming. Saturday, our men play at George Washington, and then on Sunday, they play at Drexel. Both games are at 2 p.m.
Awesome. So that's CoppinStateSports.com.
Yes, it is.
And at Coppin Sports on Instagram. Thank you guys.
Follow us on Instagram.
Do you have any last comments you want to make to student athletes?
Play hard this season if you have a season, and be safe.
Awesome. And does anyone have any last questions, students? In the if you have any questions, I'm so thankful that you stayed with us. If you have any questions, you can drop them in the chat box. I'll give you like a few seconds, or you can take yourself off of mute. If you have a question, you can take yourself off of mute. And this is for any of the offices: financial aid, housing, first year experience, or athletics. Okay, awesome. Does anyone have any last words for any students who are considering Coppin? Should they still consider Coppin in a pandemic? Should they consider Coppin in general? I mean, I'm always going to be Team Coppin, so you know. And Mr. Bird, I know you're from Alabama and all, but go Eagles. All right. So thank you guys so very much for tuning in. Thank you so much for sharing all of this valuable information. I hope that it will be a valuable piece of, what can I call this? I don't know what to call it, but I know that students typically, they don't have this kind of interaction. I've watched other open houses. They are not like this. We have so many Instagram pages for students to follow. We are on social media. We are available to them. And so I think that this will be a good jewel for students to take with them in choosing, making their decision for higher education, and especially in choosing Coppin. So I thank you guys so much for participating. Bye. Have a good night.